Ekam sadvipra bhudha vadanti. That's what we were discussing in the previous class. So this we will be remembering again and again. Whenever we come across the different names which are attributed to such another God, then we'll be referring back to this Ekam Sat Vipra Bhuta Vadanti and explaining how it refers to or how it is attributed to the Satchidananda. A few I have explained already. So let's continue with Anago Hatya Vai Bhima. Anago Hatya Vai Bhima. Anago Hatya Vai Bhima. Atharva 10:129. 10:129. Anago Hatya Vai Bhima. ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಆರಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. I think someone Anago Hatya Vai Bhima. Bhima is something which is awesome and terrific. Bhima is something which is awesome and terrific. Cause for Nibhi Bhaye. Fright. Cause for fright. So awesome and so terrible will be that. Because one of the Pandavas was like that, he was named as Bhima. The basic meaning is that. He is so powerful. Every act, what he used to do, used to be terrible, awesome, fearsome. So it's called as Bhima. Of course, the story goes like that. During his infancy, once it so happened that his mother Kunti dropped the child on a boulder. Nothing happened to the child, but the boulder broke into pieces. So was the strength of that baby even during his infancy. So it's called as Bhima. Thus goes the story in Mahabharata. It's okay. But what I mean to say is Bhima is not the name of the Pandava, but it is the name given to something which is awesome, terrible, and that name is taken over by the son of Kunti, Kaunteya. Agas means sin, papam. Anaga means that which is not doing any sin, harmless. Hatya, hana himsa gatyoho. To kill such animals is awesome, terrible, frightening. So, for example, usually what the non-vegetarians do, chicken. It is such a non-troublesome creature which lives on its own. It has done no sin at all. But they kill it and eat it. A cow, a lamb, a sheep, whatever it is. All these animals, most of them what they eat, a pig maybe, some may not eat, but many eat. All these animals have done no sin at all. They have not troubled us. They are leading their lives for themselves. And some are domestic and we rear them. Fine. Killing them is awesome. Killing them is terrible. Killing them is frightening. It never comes into the ambit of humanity. Anago hatya vai bhima. It is terrible. Why is for emphasis? Why is for emphasis? If there is something terrible, it is this killing of innocent creatures, innocent animals, which have done no sin, which have done no harm. On the other hand, we rear them for their other benefits too. We get benefits from them. Instead of being grateful to what they have given, we kill them and eat them. This is something terrible. Ungrateful. So I have discussed sufficiently about vegetarianism and non-vegetarianism. And we also know that even vegetarianism has been extended further into veganism, where they even shun the dairy products, saying that it's a product from the animal. When that is the direction of humanity, people who are compassionate. On the other hand, we have got people who are killing these innocent creatures just to fill their belly, which they could have filled up in any other way. So doing so is awesome, terrible, frightening. That's what it says. Anago hatya vai bhima. But one more thing is there. It's very clearly said they are all innocent. They have done no sin. That doesn't mean that if a person does sin, or if some animal does some sin, it should be killed and eaten. No, it's not like that. The converse is not true. It's just one way. They're all innocent creatures. We are not supposed to kill them and eat them or use them for your purpose. They have got a right to live as we have. We all have got a right. We had a Human Rights Commission and other things. If something goes wrong, the people from the human rights come and shout. But unfortunately, they are all animals who are not able to speak, and they cannot have their Animal Rights Commission. So they are not to be cared. That's how the people think. And they think that they have no right. And some people think that they are there only to feed us. And such arguments are there. They don't have a life of a human being. They are not equal to human beings. They are there only for our sake. Whatever is there in the world, it's all for the sake of we men. That's how they speak of. And they don't recognize the right of any other creature of its right to live. But in reality, every creature, every living being has got a right to live. Because no creature on this planet wants to die on its own. It has to be killed. So if I want to eat a cow, beef, I cannot say, okay, I want to eat you, come on. And the cow will come and down its head so that we can kill it and eat it. No. We have to butcher it. We have to be so hard and uncompassionate, without mercy, by force. All this tells us that it has got its own right to live and it wants to live. And who are we to kill it when you are not capable of giving life? If you are not capable of giving life, definitely we don't have a right to take out life. It's a very simple law of humanity. You don't like to be harmed, then you have no right to harm others. Simple. In other words, that is what is called as non-violence. Recognize the right of every creature and see that you recognize and you honor their right to live. Anago hatya vai bhima. If you forget all these things, your actions are definitely frightful, inhuman, awesome, terrible. It cannot be considered something humane. Simple. Next one. Ko asya kalpayajjavam. Yo ko asya kalpayajjavam. Ko asya kalpayajjavam. Kaha, ko means kaha. Asya akalpayat javam. Kaha asya akalpayat javam. Ko asya kalpayat javam. When they get joined, this is how it happens. Kaha asya akalpayat javam. Atharva 10-15. 10-15. Kena asmin nihitam manaha. Kena asmin nihitam manaha. Kena asmin nihitam manaha. Atharva 10-19. 10-19. There are all set of questions there. So all questions I'm taking it together and the answer to. Next one. Kena shrotriyam apnoti. Kena shrotriyam apnoti. Shrotriyam apnoti. Atharva 10-20. All these three are close by. 10-15, 10-19, 10-20. Ko asya kalpayajjavam. Kenasmin nihitam manaha. Kena shrotriyam apnoti. Shrotriyam apnoti. Shrotriyam apnoti. Atharva 10-15, 10-19, 10-20. Now there are a set of questions here for which you have to search for the answers. In the first one, Kaha asya akalpaya javam. Java means speed. Vega. Java means speed. Vega. Vegam. That's changes and moments. Changes and moments. In this Sharira Indriya Manas, who installed this change and moment? The Sharira Manas is not a static one, it's a dynamic structure. So this dynamic structure, lot of things will be happening continuously, lot of changes will be taking place every moment. And there's a lot of movements too. Movement of the air within, inhaling, out, exhaling, flow of blood, flow of nutrients to every cell. Lot of movements and changes are going on. Just for example, I said a few. Impulses, thoughts, so many things. Move. And because of this continuous movement and change, it's called life. And death is called as nirriti. That also we have discussed earlier. Nirriti. Ritau. So all these changes are there. And all the changes and movements that are happening with Sharira Manas comes to a grinding halt, comes to a still position within a fraction of a second. And the one that's a cause for it is called as a nirriti. That's death. When death occurs, all this change. When death occurs, all this movement, will come to a standstill, grinding halt. By the time we snap, it is over. It's all held back. No movement, no change. That is nirruti, the one which makes everything stop. Now, who is responsible for this, or who installed this system of movement and change in Sharira Indriya Manas? First question. Ko asya akalpayat javam. Number 2. Kena asmin nihitam manaha. Sharira Indriya Manas is there. Now, who installed this manas in this structure of Sharira Indriya? Mana has got its own structure. Mana has got its own system. Mana has got its own process. Who installed it? It's not just Sharira Indriya. There is another tool in that, Mana. In every creature, maybe the manas in the human beings works in a different way. The manas in other creatures, it works in a different way. Fine. But this manaha is installed in the structure. Who did it? That's the second question. Third question. Kena shrotriyam apnoti. Shruti. From Shruti, we get shrotriyam. Shruti Shri Shravane. What to understand by listening to it? And there is nothing but Shruti is Veda. Veda has to be learned at the feet of the teacher by listening. Because every intonation has got a meaning there. Udattanarata Swarita, mainly. This I have told you. If there is a change in Udattanarata Swarita, the very meaning of the Veda mantra will undergo a drastic change. It would mean the opposite also. So it's very, very important that we learn Vedas with its intonations, ups and downs in the voice, pitch. That cannot be learned from a distance. It cannot be learned through a book. It cannot be learned through any audiovisual equipment. So it's called as Shruti. The knowledge of Shruti is called as Shrotriyam. So from where do you get this knowledge of the Vedas? Shrotriyam apnoti. Apnoti is to get. Apnoti is to get. To have. To possess. How do you get it? Which is the source of this knowledge? Shrotriyam, Shruti, Veda. Now these three series, it's not just three, there are many, they are representative, always it's there. Representative, Upalakshanam we call it. All questions cannot be listed out. Say one or two and we say etc., etc. In that way you have to take it. What is it that is responsible for the changes going on? What is it which installed this manas in the structure of Sharira Indriya and which gave us the knowledge of the Vedas? We have to answer this. We have to answer this question. I cannot deny it. I cannot deny that this structure has got its own changes. I cannot deny that this structure has got moment. I cannot say it is random too. Why you will see. I cannot deny the manas what I have got. A thinking box, a thinking instrument. I cannot deny it. I've been using it. Every creature is using it. Maybe in a limited sense in case of animals and in a greater sense in case of human beings. It's working. I cannot say it's random. But you will see. Then I have got a lot of knowledge of the world in and around, and from where I get it, how I get it. I cannot say it's random. Oh, these are all not random because they are all systematized. That's a very important thing. They are predictable. And they have got a logical connectivity among them. When that logical connectivity is there, when there is such perfect relationship between one and the other, when they are predictable, I cannot say it is random. Of course, certain things we call it as random, not because that is random, but because I am not able to understand it. It's my limitation. Because of my limitation, I cannot understand the logic behind it, and finally I say it is random. But there is no randomness. But when I say there is no randomness, we should not understand that our future too is predetermined. That's another problem. When I say there is no randomness and everything is according to certain law, then immediately we come to a conclusion that the whole life is preset. The whole life is fixed. No, no, no. We should not go up to that extent. Future is not predetermined. What is predetermined is the law which governs all the process. So within that process, according to the law, everything happens, and as a result of what has taken place, the future gets on to take its own form. It's not predetermined. But how it takes the form is totally dependent on what we do and the law which is working on it. So many physical laws are there, psychological laws are there, spiritual laws are there. And the whole world runs according to the law. And future is not predetermined. Both have to balance it. And it's not random. Because it works according to law. When things work according to law, it's not random. Just because when I say it is not random, it doesn't mean everything is predetermined. No. There's subtle difference between saying that the law is there and there is no randomness, and the whole life, in particular the future, is predetermined. They are not one and the same. It's a very, very important thing, and we have to draw a line between the two. Future is not predetermined, but the law works always, past, present, and future. And that law is fixed. Whatever happens, it's according to that law. Systematized, logically connected, predictable. Now the question is, who set all these things? What is it behind this logic? What is behind this setup? What is behind this law? Now that is a question in all these things. For example, maybe the movements and things which are going in and around, maybe the functioning of the manas, the brain, the intellect, and the knowledge what we have. We have to answer this question. I cannot say it is random. I cannot say it is illogical. No, we have got definite rules. Definite rules at the physical level, definite rules at the psychological level, definite rules at the spiritual level. We have got it. When I got such definite rules, it should have been well thought out. Well thought out. It's not something random. Even in real life, take certain things which we have created. Which we have created. A system. Say machinery I have created. And this machinery is my product. How do I do it? Is it random? There are some parts, some size, something, you put it, it gets into the form of a machine and does a certain function. No. I have to think, break my head, create the blueprint first, assess, and take only such material which can satisfy my requirement. Take the measurements, assemble them, and try it. Repair it, again try it. Improvise it, again try it. Okay, finally my machinery starts working, which does a certain function, what I want. See? Lot of thinking, lot of experimentation, lot of trials and errors. I have to go and I have to create something as a system, as a thing which is predictable, as a thing which does some function. Lot of efforts will go. All such efforts we can summarize into two things. One is called as Jnana Shakti, another thing is called as the Kriya Shakti. Finally, without this Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, no system on this planet comes into existence. Whether in nature or the one which we establish. Any system or any machinery, what we manufacture too, take for example just a clock, it doesn't happen on its own. If I keep all the parts of a clock, they won't automatically come together and start working as a clock. No. Some person to visualize, if I assemble these parts, it will show me the time. So after visualizing it, the same person or some other person has to collect all those material, assemble them, and see that it functions. That visualization part is called as the Jnana Shakti, and the assembling part is called as the Kriya Shakti. Finally, in reality, I will have an instrument which shows time, for example. Without Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, this thing will not come into stay. It will not start working. It cannot. For any system to come into stay, a Jnana Shakti and a Kriya Shakti is a must, without which there cannot be a system which is predictable, which is understandable, which has got in it a lot of logical connectivities. We can prove anything, a building, you take it, a structure, a building. Is it a random formation? No, it's not a random formation. Building materials have to be studied. One has to plan. And one has to visualize. If I assemble all these things, I will get a building which will work out and perform certain function. That to read. And mere visualization, putting the plan on the paper, will not create the building. Many people have to put their labor, work, take the materials, physically assemble them. Yes, finally, the building is ready. Again, there are two parts. Jnana Shakti, which is visualized, Kriya Shakti, which brought it into reality. What was there in the mind, what was there on the paper, was in reality brought to existence. That's Kriya Shakti. And only with the help of this Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, a system will come to stay, and that system is logical, the system works under certain rules, the system satisfies certain functions, and the system is never random, is very, very logical. Scientific, that's what we say. And that is the case when you are seeing the manas, when you are seeing the processes that are going in our Sharirindriya Manas, and seeing the knowledge what we have got, how do you explain it? Who did it? Who could have done it? Who could have done it? There are only three entities in the world. Sat, Satchit and Satchidananda. Forget about Satchidananda now. We are trying to establish Satchidananda in this case. So I got only two entities. One is Sat, another one is Satchit. Now what is Sat? Sat is all that is inert. It just stays. It doesn't have motivation. It doesn't work on its own. For its movement or its moving, to stop it, some external force is required. That's an inert thing, Jada, which follows perfectly the Newton's first law of motion, the law of inertia. When that itself is not capable of moving on its own, when that itself is not capable of stopping on its own, and when it doesn't have an element to think, that thinking factor is not there in it, how can it do all this? A logical setup, a logical system, a rules, regulation. Sorry, it cannot do it. It doesn't know that it exists. It exists, but is not aware of its existence. That's its limitation. That's a Sat. All inert things, 100%. At the most, this inert world can be used to create something. They themselves cannot form. They themselves cannot do it. But they can work out as a raw material for creating all this. Maybe Manas, maybe our Sharira, maybe our Indriya, maybe all other physical things what we see around us. Yes, this can work as a raw material, but we want some agency which can use it. They themselves cannot form it. That is his limitation, because it doesn't have that consciousness. It doesn't have that awareness. It just exists. So it could not have created this systematic world in and around us. And what is the second one? Satchit. Yes, it exists and is aware of its existence. It creates. But how is its creation? Its creation is secondary, not primary. By using iron and steel, it can manufacture something. But it's not capable of creating iron or steel. Of course, if iron is there, steel can be done. Iron ore. Iron ore is not created by the Satchit and it doesn't know how to do it. But it's capable of understanding what is an iron ore, how it has to be converted into steel, and from steel what I can do. Yes, all these things are possible. Given wood, it can form furnitures. It can manufacture furniture. But wood it cannot create. Wood has to supply to it. Stone, anything, any material has to be supplied to it, the basic raw material, and upon it, it can do it. And that too, subject to its own limitations. It cannot do anything with this. If all the material is given to, it cannot create another sun. It cannot create another moon. Even the material is there. It's got its own limitation. But there are lakhs and infinite things beyond what it can create, which come to the system of logical setup. Who did it? It's not Satchit. Though Satchit has got the capacity to create, it cannot create the basic raw material. This is very important. Basic raw material has to be available, and certain things it can manufacture using those basic material. Not all, not everything, even though basic materials are there. For example, Panchabhutas are there. Using that Panchabhuta, the Satchit cannot manufacture everything. It can manufacture a few things. Over. Still, we have not answered the question. Who created this manas? Who created this change? Who created this moment? Who gave us all this knowledge? That question still is to be answered. It's not Sat, inert thing. It's not Satchit. Then who? But we are seeing that it is there. I cannot say it's not there. It is very, very cognizant. Directly I am able to see all these things. Manas is there, time is there. There are materials which have got their own properties, which can have their own functions, logical setups, everything I am seeing, and it is not either the creation of Sat nor Sachit. But behind it, we have to infer that there is a Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, which is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. Other than that, we have no other goal. Without that answer, I cannot answer the reality. Reality is there, I have to explain, and this explanation cannot be given unless I infer a third entity called as Satchidananda, which is the source of all the Jnana Shakti, which is the source of all Kriya Shakti, which is behind all the systems. You may call it as Manas, you may call it as time, you may call it as change, you may call it as moment, you may call it as knowledge. Anything, anything, anything. We have no other goal than inferring. We have no other goal than understanding that there is another entity, the third entity, which is all blissful, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. And what do you call it? That we call it as Satchidananda. Over. It's not an idol, I repeat. It's not a small piece of stone or wood, gold or silver. It's not a painting. It's a force which has got, along with omnipresence and other things, two very important. This one, it is infinite, infinite, boundless. Asima, that's the word what we use. Sima is border, limitation. Asima is one which doesn't have that. It is so enormous. The whole universe, what we can imagine, is in it. It is beyond that. At the same time, it is in everything. If it has to be in everything, it has to be the subtlest sukshmati sukshma. It is sukshmati sukshma, at the same time enormous. And it is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. Unless, I repeat, unless we infer such a third entity, I cannot explain all these questions. Impossible. No science, no knowledge of mine can explain these three or questions like this, hundreds of questions, unless I infer this third entity, and that's the end of it. I'm not going for a fourth entity. Third entity is final. Sat, Satchit, Satchidananda. This is what Vedas say. So with the knowledge of these three entities and their role in this universe, the whole thing becomes very, very clear, crystal clear, no confusion whatsoever. The one which has created the whole system, universe I'm speaking of, Satchit doesn't have even the knowledge of this universe. His knowledge is so limited. Even in physical world, what is available, which is perceived by sense organs, that itself is not able to understand. What is going on in our own selves also is not clear. I got that limitation. It's all by fluke we are running. Something is going on. No damage is done, so I think everything is fine. But do I know what is happening in every cell of my body? Sharindra Manas, forget about the Atma. Do I know? No. Medical science is still trying to understand how this structure works. And day after day, they are bringing out new things. And that too in such a way that what was said yesterday, they say that's not right. This is right. A trial and error method we are doing. Even just to understand one structure of a human being, one system. We are so ignorant. Our knowledge level, with all this progress and achievement, experiments and other things, is still insufficient to understand the facts in and around us. Very, very insufficient. Can't help it. There's a limitation. There's a limitation. But still, we are trying to understand. That's a good thing. We are trying to analyze, that's a good thing. During that process, we have no other goal than inferring a third entity called as Satchidananda. Maybe if you want, you can call it as God. You call it by any name. It is one entity, Satchidananda, which is responsible for all these things. That's what I said. We will be again and again recalling it. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. You call it by any name, it doesn't matter. It is one entity called as Satchidananda, which is responsible for all this. And that is the Jnana Shakti, and that itself is the Kriya Shakti. If I have to create something, if I have to manufacture something, I need a lot of tools. If no tool is available, at least I have to use my limbs, my hands and legs as a tool. If no other tool is available. But Satchidananda, I have to infer that it is one which can do everything without any tool. Because if it depends upon tool, then once again the question comes, who has to create that tool? So it's an intriguing situation. So it can do things without any tool, and tools are basically created by that. This is what is called, this is called as omnipotence. Omnipotence. Omnipotence of Sarva Shakta means doing anything without depending on tools, paraphernalia. That is the meaning of omnipotence. Whatever it has to do, it will do on its own. No limbs are required, it can do. No eyes are required, it can see. No ears are required, it can listen. It can think, no brain is required. It doesn't depend upon a brain or a structure using which it thinks. Without that, it can think. Without that, it can understand. It can analyze. Unless I assume, unless I infer such an entity, there is no answer for all these questions. They all remain as questions forever. That's what the Vedic science says, that the whole world is made up of three entities, Sat, Satchit, Satchidananda. Sat is inert, Satchit is not inert, but has got limited powers. Satchidananda is one single entity which is all powerful. Sarva Shakta, omnipotent, omniscient, Sarvajna, omnipresent, which is there everywhere. Sarva Vyapi. Or with these basic inferences, it's possible for us to answer and understand the whole world. Whole world. All questions can be answered. Because this inference has got that capacity to answer all the questions, we infer that, once again, that this has to be truth. Because only truth can answer all. Untruth cannot answer all. And it is purely temporary. It may answer one or two questions. When I ask a fourth question, untruth dies. It cannot sustain it. It cannot bear it. It's only truth which can bear any number of queries, any number of questions, any number of investigations. Because this has sustained all these things, though we started as inference in the beginning, finally we conclude that there is no inference, this is a fundamental basic truth. So that is the conclusion. And there is a system in that. There's a system in that changing over from inference to truth. And it is infallible. Without this, I cannot answer any other question. That's true. Forget about this basic question, inference and truth. In science, what we do? In mathematics, what we do? Wherever it is. Every subject is starting from certain axioms and postulates. What is an axiom and postulate? It's a basic statement which we take it for granted, which we not question. And it has to be as less as possible. I cannot say everything is an option, everything is a postulate, everything is an axiom. No. The axioms and postulates are to be very minimum, And when I apply it, it should be able to answer maximum number of questions. Should be able to explain maximum realities. Then we say, because though these few things are capable of answering all these things, explaining all these things, it has to be a truth. That's what we conclude. Any subject on the planet, mathematics, science, physics, chemistry, whatever you do, in every subject we have certain basic postulates, basic axioms. Unless those basic axioms are inferred in the beginning, other things cannot be explained. But because it explains maximum things, we say that it's not an inference, this has to be the truth. The inference gradually gets itself promoted to the state of truth. Same thing here also. That's how we work, that's how we understand, that's how we learn. That's a process, there is no other way. Here also we do the same thing. Certain questions are asked. To find the answer, we have to go for certain inferences. And with the least number of inferences, I repeat, with the least number of inferences, if I can answer most of the questions, then the conclusion is those basic inferences are nothing but truth. That's what exactly the same process is followed even in this Vedic science. These are the questions what comes. Who created this change? Who created this movement? Who created this brain? A functioning instrument. And who gave us all this knowledge? Now finally, the answer is here. Atharva 10 to 21. 10 to 21. It gives the answer saying that Brahma Shrotriyam apnoti. Brahma Shrotriyam apnoti. It is Brahma by which that knowledge is got by human beings. What is that Brahma? It's nothing but that Satchitananda, another name for it. The previous class I had explained it. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Rudra, so many things, all refers to that one entity, Satchitananda. Here they've used the word Brahma. Bruhabhrivruddhav, that which is ultimate, that which is the highest, that which is the most, on that side, being infinite, and that which is the subtlest on this side. There is nothing subtler than this Brahma, this Satchitananda. There is nothing bigger than this. Both ends are covered by this. That's called Brahma. It says that knowledge, I got it from this Brahma. Shrotriyam apanoti. We get it, we possess it, we are benefited by that knowledge which is given by the Brahma. So the Brahma is behind all these things. And because this Brahma is enormous, infinite, it is akaya, formless. If you consider this Brahma as having some form, however big it is limited. And you say form, it is limited. Now what we are seeing here is something which is unlimited. If something is unlimited, it cannot have a form. I cannot get the end of it. I cannot get the border of it because it goes on and goes on and goes on. Unless I fix up the border, I cannot get a shape. I cannot get a form. They are contradictory. So this one, which is enormous and infinite, has no structure, has no form, has no pratima, has no idol. Is enormous. On the other hand, it is the subtlest too. Even that subtlest thing I cannot experience with the help of my sense organs, Sharindriya Manas, or any instrument manufactured by me. It can only be experienced in the form of bliss and peace. And no instrument, no indriya, no manas can see it. But it can be experienced by the soul, not Sharira Manas, by the soul in the form of peace and bliss. That's the very nature of this Brahma. Swaha is one word what we use in the Vedas. Swaha is that which is blissful, that which is bliss. Swaha. Om Bhuhu Bhuvaha Swaha. That Swaha means the one which is blissful. Now the question is asked, the answer is given. It's not left unanswered. Who did all these things? Which is the Jnana Shakti or Kriya Shakti behind this whole system? At the micro level and the macro level. It is nothing but that Satchidananda, the third entity. It is not Sat, it is not Satchit. The third entity we are inferring, that is Satchidananda. Only three entities, Sat, Satchit, Satchidananda. We don't have the fourth entity. The whole world has got only these three entities. This third entity has to be understood very clearly. That's Brahma. That is the creator. That is the Prajapati. That is the Varuna. That is the Agni. That is the Indra. All that we have explained. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha. There is only one such entity. And it is doing all these things, though there is no person to inquire, have you done it, why you have not done it? Because that itself is the supreme one, Brahma. There is nothing beyond that. That's ultimate. In spite of nobody asking it, in spite of though it is not its duty, it's not its thing, it does it out of mercy. It does it out of compassion. It is compassionate. Because Satchit are grappling for bliss. They are searching for bliss. They cannot get it as it is. So all the tools needed, all the knowledge what is needed, those are the questions. The manas and the sharira, indriya, everything, they are all tools. Knowledge is at Shrotriyam. Knowledge what is needed, tools what is needed, an area where we can work. Everything is a gift of God, this whole universe. If we understand this, yes, we'll be understanding life better. We can lead a better life. And we can pursue what we are searching for. Otherwise, we'll be lost in our mundane affairs. And the whole human life, which could have achieved something better, is totally wasted. Whole thing unreveals. When I ask these questions, who created this manas? Who created this change? Who created this moment? And from where we get all this knowledge? These are all eternal questions. These are all eternal questions. Every enlightened person starts from these questions. Whether from east or whether from west, that doesn't matter. Every thinker, every philosopher has started from this question. Everyone, without exception. May call it him as Buddha, may call him as Aristotle, may call him as Pluto, may call it as anyone. Every thinker starts from these questions. What is the cause behind all these things? How the system was established, how the system came into existence. They wonder. They wonder. And they start searching for an answer. And the final answer, too, is ready in the Vedas. It says it is a Brahma which is responsible for all these things, which is a Satchidananda, which is formless, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, sovereign, enormous, infinite, at the same time the subtlest. Everything is in it and it is in everything. I think pondering over this answer, even for years and years, I think we cannot get a better answer than this. Finally, I have to conclude that. And that is why we say Vedas are ultimate. Even a scientist, at one point of time will ask the question, why it is happening? Who is the cause behind it? He studies all the scientific rules and regulations, laws. So I understand that life is systematized. There is some rule, there is some system, there is some order in that, no randomness. Then the immediate question he faces is, who created all this order? That's what the same question. Who created all this? Who is behind? Which is the Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti? And when we search and search for the answer is ultimately, it is Brahma, it is Satchidananda, over. Maybe we use those technical terms, Brahma and Satchidananda, but others may use other technical, doesn't matter. But the concept beyond the name is the same for all these researchers, for all these thinkers, for all these people who are searching for an answer. Yes, they all meet at the same point and say this has to be the answer. The way they call it, the language may be different, the technical term may be different. But finally, the concept, they all have to come to that only, because that is the only answer available. If you understand this world as that, if you understand to the best extent possible, you cannot understand everything, to the best extent possible, the nature of God, the features of Satchidananda, yes, it will have a great impact on our life. And that helps us to understand the purpose of human life. And our whole life becomes useful. And we understand this human life as a great opportunity, a great celebration. I think that's the best way we can tackle this life. Okay, thank you. Namaste.